RacerX has a special offer for you guys this month that I want to tell you about. If you subscribe or renew today, you're going to get the free RacerX vehicle package. That includes a RacerX license plate and a trailer sticker. Of course, you get 12 print issues, 12 digital issues. The piece that I think is really cool is the RacerX read-alouds. Hear from people like Davey Coombs, Jason Wygant, even Steve Mathis. The stories that they work so hard to write, they're actually going to read them to you. Really cool piece that I've enjoyed myself, as well as an archive of the digital magazine. You can do so by going to racerxonline.com/moto marketing to subscribe or renew. The Michelin name is synonymous with quality around the world, yet many who appreciate the performance of numerous Michelin products are unaware that the company's first tire product was a bicycle tire in 1891, when the Michelin brothers patented the first detachable bicycle bead tire. To this day, Michelin continues to innovate and produce world-class products for road bicycles, mountain bikes, and specifically designed products for e-mountain bikes, like the Michelin E-Wild tire. It's the tire of choice for my team, the Impact Results EMTB team, that's competing in the 2021 EMTB GNCC National Championship. This partnership will enable the team and its riders to showcase the performance, versatility, and durability of the Michelin E-Wild tires during our efforts to defend and pursue even more championships. Also for 2021, Michelin is introducing many exciting new products like the Michelin Force AM2 tire and the Michelin Wild AM2 tire, designed for a variety of mountain bike terrains, as well as, this one I'm excited about, the Michelin Pilot SX and the Michelin Pilot SX Slick tire, specifically for world-class level BMX racers like Connor Fields, even Darkside, or myself. Follow at Michelin Bicycle on Instagram or learn more about their extensive range of bicycle products by checking out their website or obviously engaging with them on social. Again, it's at Michelin Bicycle on Instagram.
Welcome to the Moto Marketing Podcast, presented by RacerX, the podcast for moto industry professionals, entrepreneurs, and riders. If you want to grow your brand and business in today's digital-first world, you have to know how to turn a stranger into a fan, turn a like into a customer. You have to know how to turn attention into dollars. This podcast is dedicated to keeping you in the know on real marketing tactics that work in the moto world so that you grow your business and help grow the sport. Get ready to learn from the very same marketing experts trusted by RacerX, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, GNCC, and NBC Sports. They'll help you navigate the world of digital marketing for your moto brand. This is the Moto Marketing Podcast. Presented by RacerX.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast on RacerX's podcast and YouTube channels. If you're listening to us, man, we appreciate it, but definitely be sure to jump over to YouTube and check it out, as sometimes it's just nice to see our beautiful faces and get a visual of the person that's talking on the other line. So, hey, today we've got a good show for you. We have Scott Denison, who's the accounts manager of Pro Moto Billet, which is the umbrella of Fastway and Sector 7. Somebody that just through my marketing company, we've had several conversations with their brand and learned a lot about them over the last year. And just like every other power sports brand, man, it's been a wild ride through 2020 and now into 2021. A lot of exciting stuff happening. So we're going to talk to Scott today and kind of hear his story and what is going on in the world of Pro Moto Billet and its brands. And man, Scott, I'm excited to have you on the show with us today, and I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I'm excited.
So we'll talk about Pro Moto Billet and Fastway and Sector 7, but I always like to start with, how did you get into the position that you're in? Because a lot of the people that listen to this show are aspiring industry professionals. They're maybe in college or they're selling cars at a dealership and they want to work in the power sports space. So those stories are always interesting and inspiring to hear. How did you get into working in the position that you're at today with Pro Moto Billet and its brands?
Yeah, so I, grew up in the industry, been around it forever. My dad, shortly before I was born, bought a Honda dealership. It was Honda Husqvarna in Colorado, and ran that for a while. And then he went on a whole long side story of how this kind of came about. But out of the Honda dealership, started a off-road accessory company, which today is Moose Racing or Moose Off-Road. And so that evolved into kind of what Moose is today. And he kind of got out of that and then went on to do some other things. And then for me, so I grew up riding, grew up racing, realized at some point I was not quite talented enough to make a living on a motorcycle, but maybe I could make a living around motorcycles. So I bounced around all the local shops. I was that kid that hung around long enough that somebody handed him a broom finally, so I started, first real job was Performance Cycle in Colorado, basically sweeping the floor and emptying trash cans. So bounced around through sales, parts, and service at all the dealerships, and then moved in '06, moved to California, chasing bigger, better industry jobs. And, started at Cycle Gear, ran a store there for 5 years. And then just kind of through that network of the people you meet at the tracks and hanging out there, I went to work for 6D Helmets. I actually was there.
I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was their first employee. You have more helmets on your desk right now than they had available for sale when I interviewed for that job.
That's awesome. I love
Bob. My interview was at a card table in an empty warehouse.
No kidding. I did not know that. That's awesome. Bob,
Yeah.
I love Bob. Bob supported us. I started an e-bike team that we compete in the GNCC series, and last year Bob supported us, and I've gotten to know him and the technology that goes into their product. So, man, that's cool. I didn't realize that you were their first employee.
Yeah, it was neat. I mean, it was, I was looking for a job when I saw their launch on Motocross Action site, just the launch party. And I knew who Bob was. I'd never met him.
Yeah.
So I go to 6D's website and there's not really any contact info. So I wrote an email and I said, hey, this is who I am. Here's my resume. I'm like, I don't know what you guys need, but here's how I see myself fitting in. And then I kind of outlined a position, and I sent the email to, B Weber at 6dhelmets.com, and then a bunch of other ones like Bob Weber at 6D, BW Weber, Bob, info, just like 9 of them. And when I got 8 message send failures, I knew one of them had gotten through. And so I kind of, he called me later. He's like, how'd you get my email? I'm like, I guessed it.
Yeah.
Kind of, and then it just kind of worked out. I ended up getting hired for just about exactly the position that I'd outlined in my email. I made a few lucky guesses about where they were at as a company. And it was cool. I mean, I was with them for 3 years and it was a wild ride. With the way they took off with the crash that Zach Bell had at the Dallas Supercross that first year, that catapulted them forward 5 years in terms of the business cycle and recognition and all that, because that was pretty spectacular. So that was really neat.
You really jumped in and committed. I mean, I think the reason I'm bringing that up is there are a lot of people that reach out to me on Instagram that want to work for Racer X, but man, they don't want to live in Morgantown, or that they want to be in the thick of it, but man, they just love where they live in Delaware or whatever. I mean, you said, look, I packed up and I moved to California, and then you started looking for opportunities. I think that's really everybody's story that got into this. The mechanics, they rolled the dice and dove into the industry and they made their way through to where they're at today. I think that's something that a lot of people take for granted is it's it's a niche industry. It's not necessarily nationwide. The mecca is in 1 or 2 small places, and you've got to commit to going there. So what kind of led you from 6D to where you're at today?
So I ended up leaving 6D and I went to work for Seat Concepts.
Okay.
And I was their sales and marketing manager, and I was with them for about 3 years as well. And really it got to the point, 6D was awesome. I was learning a ton from Bob, and it was really cool, but I was just kind of ready for a change and kind of looking for something else. And, Seat Concepts came along. It was kind of that next opportunity, a little more responsibility, kind of not to purposely job jump, but kind of level up a little bit, a little bit different of a job, and take on more of the marketing stuff, which I really like. The sales stuff was really all I did at 6D, and it gets to be kind of a grind when that's all you do. So I think what mainly interested me in C Concepts was just to be able to diversify myself a little bit. So I was there for 3 years, and they were in California at the time. They let me know when they hired me that they were planning to relocate the whole business to Idaho. And, so at the time, my wife wasn't interested. And I said, well, I'll work for these guys. And then if they move, we'll just figure something else out. Throughout that process, we, as a family, my wife and I kind of started looking at Idaho and realized we got to get our kids out of California. Mm-hmm. And, it kind of looked like the right next step. And, so I started, kind of working on that process as well. And C Concepts relocated up here. And then the opportunity came along at Pro Moto Billet, which is in the same town that C Concepts had moved to, and again, a little bit better of a deal.
What is it about Idaho? I mean, are you close to where WPS and all these brands? I feel like there's a lot of people that are moving to and have moved to Idaho to where it's kind of becoming a satellite mecca for the industry. Is there a reason why, in your opinion?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're real close to Western Power Sports, so they're right in Boise. If you've ever flown into the Boise airport, you look down and see a Supercross track, that's them. Huh. They're right off the edge of the airport. That's cool. Where we're at, I'm about a half hour, 45 minutes west of that. Nampa, it's a really nice town. The appeal of it from an industry standpoint is kind of similar to what appealed to me, coming up here just individually, because coming out of California, I mean, everybody knows California is crazy expensive. The crime situation is not good, and the places you can afford to live are not the places you want to live. Let's face it, the industry does not pay huge in most cases, and so for my wife and I, it was an opportunity to really upgrade everything, and we'd done pretty good on our house there. And it was like, look, if we move, it's like hitting the reset button financially. We stay in California, kids are in daycare, both of us have to work. We move to Idaho, sell the house, you're a debt-free stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. And I think for industry businesses, it's kind of the same thing. I look at what C Concepts went through in their move. The workman's comp insurance got cheaper. Cost of living for everybody, went down. So most of their employees relocated with them. And it was just an opportunity kind of for everybody to upgrade it. A lot of people sold whatever they were living in California, came out here and were able to buy a brand new house. So I think economically that makes the most sense. I can tell you most of the industry people that I network with fall into two groups. They're actively trying to leave California, or for some reason they can't, but they wish they could. Yeah. I got a friend that runs a dealership there. He told me, he said, man, if I could move my dealership to Idaho, I would start working on that tomorrow morning. Yeah. And obviously you can't relocate a multi-line dealership, but I think he wishes he could. And then California, economically it's just gone to pieces. And, it is the center of the world for the moto industry, and that's what led me there. But, what appealed to me when it was just single me, riding, racing, and working at a dealership, totally different deal now that I've got kids. Yeah, and just different priorities. And so, this was an opportunity to take a decent industry job basically out of California. Yeah. And so I jumped on it, because it made more sense for the family.
How long have you been at Pro Moto Billet now?
2 years last month.
Okay. So you're the accounts manager, and now Pro Moto Billet, unique company from the standpoint of you guys are an umbrella of Fastway and Sector 7. Walk us through, for those that might not be familiar, I'm sure most are listening to this, but walk us through kind of the structure of that. So Pro Moto Billet is over top of Fastway, which is what, and then Sector 7, which you said that's the four-wheel side of things. So kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, so Pro Moto Billet is kind of the umbrella or the main company, and that started over 20 years ago. Our first product was cargo racks, and then we made some other billet products. We made kickstands. Got a really cool handguard system. About 05 or 06, I think it was, we acquired Fastway, which was a different company at the time. They made foot pegs. And so we acquired the Fastway name, and we kind of kept that, and then took their existing foot peg design and improved upon it and expanded upon it. And so when we got it from them, it was really just two different pegs. And now we've got 6 or 7 different styles and designs and things like that we do. Added some different materials to it and really made it our own. But, the Fastway name was well known and still is, and the cool logo and everything. So we kind of kept that, they kept that brand name around. About 3 years ago, the UTV thing obviously has taken off like crazy. Sure. And so we saw an opportunity there to start making products for UTVs, but we wanted to kind of set it apart from the Fastway stuff. So Sector 7 was born. And we do a line of again, high-end billet aluminum products for UTVs.
Yeah.
And so the flagship product is a set of rear view mirrors that have a really bright LED light in the front of them. So we sell crazy numbers in those things. And just kind of keeping, not to keep it totally separate because it is kind of connected, but just to have it be its own unique thing. That way the branding can be different, the logos, the look of it, because the car people are, a lot of people that used to ride, but a lot of people that have never seen motorcycle industry, never been exposed to that, So Fastway can kind of do its own thing. Sector 7 kind of do its own thing.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to dive into just kind of for each one of the brands, like the main focus as far as the sales channels and involvement with dealerships and where online plays a role as far as an e-com perspective, and obviously what are you guys doing to grow the brand, and big thing I want to talk about is kind of your guys' story about what the COVID year has looked like for you, because it's been pretty incredible for the industry. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Fly Racing's 2021 line has been improved and expanded, offering the industry's widest range of moto and off-road products. Led by the revolutionary Formula helmet featuring Rheon technology, Fly Racing has taken big steps forward with the all-new Light Pant and Zone Pro goggle. It's going to debut this year at the Monster Energy Supercross by Justin Brayton and the Muck Off Honda team. The Zone Pro goggle delivers premium performance from a brand you know and trust, fearless pursuit, Fly Racing. It's personally the gear that I wear. I've worn it moto, BMX, mountain bike. I've worn it and repped it for years. In my opinion, it's the best. Be sure to check out their goggle, their helmet, and all their gear. Fly Racing. Hey, big shout out to our friends at FMF. Little D and the guys are always doing some pretty exciting things, not just with the performance products, but man, they've got the coolest apparel in the game, and I want to give you guys an opportunity to get that at a little bit of a discount. If you go to FMF and pick up any gear you'd like, hats, shirts, whatever it is, upon checkout, if you enter the code MMP30, MMP30, you can get 30% off. So MMP30 at checkout and get 30% off your order on FMF apparel. All right, welcome back. We got Scott Denison, the accounts manager of Pro Moto Billet and Fastway in Sector 7. Let's dive into that. So obviously two-wheel products, four-wheel products. Dealership, is that your main focus as far as kind of driving revenue and sales for the company, or has that changed in the last year and it's a lot of online? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's, the direct-to-dealer stuff is definitely the biggest part of what we do. We do obviously retail sales via our website, but that's, as a revenue segment, it's not the biggest component of it. And my feeling and the way, we as a company kind of feel is that we need the dealers.
Yeah.
The industry needs good, strong dealers. The public out there needs it. So we do everything we can to support them. And I think that works out well because we can kind of, in a way, kind of duplicate my efforts through, other dealers. So that's definitely the biggest part of it. That's what 100% of my job is to basically be the primary contact point for all of our wholesale dealers. And so I take care of all of our accounts basically. I've got two guys that work under me in sales as well that kind of help out with that. But we kind of try to push as much as we can through there and expand that as much as we can.
So silly question, because I mean, obviously I understand the space, but when it gets into the nitty gritty of distribution and dealership model, I get kind of cloudy on that. And I think I'm probably not alone with that. So do you guys go direct to dealer? Do you work with like a WPS or a Parts Unlimited? Like how does that work from a distribution model?
Yeah, so there's the four levels. So there's us as the manufacturer, there's distributors, which would be like your Parts Unlimited, Tucker, Rocky, Western Power Sports.
Right.
And then there's, your dealers, which is anything from like Rocky Mountain ATV on the real big side to, your mom and pop Honda shop, right? And then finally the end user. And so we don't really do a lot through the distributors. We did, kind of back in the day, through Tucker and through Western and a little bit Parts Unlimited, kind of got away from that because the way it fits us, for one, making everything in the U.S. because just about every single thing we make is made right here in the same building I'm sitting in, which is something we're very, very proud of. and I think is very cool. But as anybody knows, it's obviously way more profitable to take it overseas. And when you do everything here, the margins just aren't what they would need to be to cut it up into that many pieces.
Yeah.
So it was always tough for us to build in a really lucrative distributor level that would be attractive to those guys. And so we choose to go straight to the dealers, give them pretty decent margins as we kind of skip the distributors. And then obviously through the website, we go straight to the retail market, to the end users. But we really don't do a whole lot with the distributors at this point. And I think for us too, you kind of get lost in a 400-page catalog.
Right.
And we have more control over our message, just going straight to dealers and skipping the distributors until.
So how has that changed messaging, marketing, and just a focus this past year with COVID and really the website and the e-com side? Has that come into play more, been more of a focus, especially when you really just weren't able to go to a dealership? Or has it just been the same and you're putting the same amount of priority into online sales as before?
It's really interesting. This whole year obviously has been crazy for so many reasons. And what we've seen there, our website, its role is to educate the consumer, who kind of, I think, has his own buying habits and kind of goes where he's going to go.
Right.
So if they learn about it on our website and then go to their local dealer, I'm happy. And that's or like Rocky Mountain ATV, obviously they're kind of the whale of the group. I think for anybody at this point, they're doing the most volume. And they have some things that they offer, one-stop shopping. They have more things, their rewards program, stuff like that. So I think a lot of people kind of will go to our website and then go there and actually make the purchase, which obviously still works for us. On the UTV side, it's a very different animal because the typical UTV customer does not work on their own stuff. Mm-hmm. Most motorcycle guys will buy a part, it gets shipped to their house, they put it on. The UTV guys, for the most part, are not doing their own mechanic work, and they will take it to somebody. So what's interesting is we'll have a dealer that just kills it with Fastway stuff, but maybe they don't offer, like they'll be an independent parts and accessory shop. They don't offer service.
Yeah.
They struggle with the UTV stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a guy working out of a warehouse that just does these crazy $high UTV builds that can't keep our stuff in stock.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really interesting adventure there of learning kind of that customer and who to go after there. And that part of it is actually a lot less direct retail and a lot more to these specialized builder guys that are doing the actual service work and putting it on.
So a question I like to ask anybody that sells a product now is what was 2020, or obviously into early 2021, what was 2020 like for you guys when all of this hit? You're in early March and there's just like utter panic and everybody wasn't sure, is our business just going to fall apart? And in some industries, I mean, I'd hate to be in the restaurant space or the movie theater space or retail space, but cycling and moto and just power sports in general, man, we really took off this year. So what was that like roller coaster of emotion like for you guys the first couple of months? And then how did it transition to what you're dealing with currently, which is just utter chaos, mass amounts of products being sold?
Yeah, it was wild. I've been in the industry a long time and I've been around it even longer. And I used to kind of think I knew what to expect and kind of had a feel for the flow of, the seasonal business, and everything I thought I knew was wrong for 2020. And, we discussed the COVID issue pretty early on as a leadership team here. Myself, our CEO, our chief operations officer, and our marketing manager kind of get together. And, we talked about it, I think, early January before it was even really, a thing. Right. And I remember sitting down in the meeting going, are we really talking about this? Like, it's over in China. Who knows what this is going to affect us, whatever. And we said, well, let's be smart and let's have a plan in case it turns into something. And, we outlined a bunch of what if scenarios. And then we talked about what sort of markers we were going to look at that would be maybe warning signs. And one of them was incoming sales. And we said, okay, when it drops to, X amount, we're going to act. And we decided what we would do. Pretty quickly that happened, faster than anybody thought. And it was, COVID showed up, everything stopped. And it was like in an instant, we were at that line where we said, okay, we have to do something.
That's crazy though, that you guys made that plan, because I would say you're you're probably one of the only brands in moto, and there's probably not that many just nationwide that when they saw it, even when it was just being talked about in China, hadn't really come to other countries much yet, or that we knew of. You guys are making a plan of attack. That's pretty incredible that you guys, somebody at least saw it, and maybe others were like, yeah, this isn't necessary. But then I think people woke up real quick to, I remember when it first, I think the first confirmed case, I was in La Jolla. I was on vacation. I actually just had a call with Little D at FMF, and my wife and I were at lunch. And I remember seeing it on television that it was like the first confirmed case, and it was in San Diego. And we were like, oh, this is weird. And then, boom, like a month and a half later, the world's different. So you guys were probably planning in, what was it, like in February when you started to make that plan?
I think it was January. It was. I mean, I walked into that meeting barely taking it seriously.
I'm sure. I don't think I knew it existed in January, so that's impressive.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, at that point, you're seeing like YouTube videos of people in China like dropping on the street and bleeding out, and we're going, "Is this fake? What is this deal?" And then we were hearing rumblings out of suppliers and some industry connections of there's an issue over there. Because there's a company that one of our guys used to work for. It's a lighting company, so they get a lot of stuff from over there. And they were like, yeah, people at the factory are freaking out. And then the scary one, it would have been about this exact same time last year, we got a story out of another company that had an American guy that was in China, that they'd moved him over there to oversee some project. And he had basically called back or got word back that the Chinese were like bulldozing roads out of the city to keep people quarantined there.
Wow.
And we're going, okay, that could be kind of an issue, And so we, like I said, as a leadership team, we try to get really good at predicting things. And so we have those conversations all the time of what if, and what do we do if this happens, how are we going to handle it, And so we did that for COVID. And then, like I said, pretty quickly that happened. That worst case scenario just was on my desk one day, And so in one morning, when sales had hit that marker that we'd already kind of predetermined was going to be the warning point, myself and our COO had to walk around, and basically we laid off 7 people, and it was a tough morning. And when your staff at the point at that time was only like 15, that was a hard day.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that again ever. I hope I don't have to. And so a month of this goes by just scary slow, and then they start talking about all of the, the essential businesses and things like that. And so, we had another kind of a funny discussion about it. And we were all kind of looking at each other. It's like, well, I don't know about you, but my job's essential. So we ordered from a supplier of ours a pallet. So basically 10,000 of the N95 masks. And we started selling them. And we were calling, like, everybody's calling their dentist and like construction companies and just anybody locally that we could think of that might need these things. And we sold enough of those at least to pay for what we'd ordered, but we're like, great, we sell PPE. Now we're essential.
Dude,
nobody can shut us down.
What a story. When I invited Scott to be on this show, I had no idea that, man, that is incredible. So, it was out of necessity because like you guys are going to be shut down if you're not looked at as essential. So somebody's like, all right, we now sell masks. Yeah. For us, we work remote. So like eventually West Virginia, which is where we're at, we had businesses had to shut down, but we never really shut down. Like my staff is still remote, just trying to be as safe as we can. My producer's in the studio with me, but other than that, we're not here. So we never really had that same worry. So that kind of stuff never crossed my mind. Man, you talk about I got goosebumps because that's like, all right, we're it's third and 15. What are we gonna do? And somebody drew up a hell of a play. That's incredible.
Well, crazy problems require crazy solutions, And that was like, hey, you know what? It's loose, right? It's probably if they really called us on it, we're gonna have a hard time with it. But we're like, hey, we can call ourselves essential, And so we didn't miss a day. Work, honestly. And we just kept it going. And then what was interesting is about exactly 30 days or so, just out of nowhere, I get a gigantic PO from one of our dealers. And I called up our buyer there and I'm like, I'm not sounding ungrateful, but is this right? It's like the biggest order you've ever sent me. And they're like, oh yeah, we're ripping. And then it just came flooding back.
Now, about when was this? What month?
Mid-April.
Yeah.
So it was mid-March that it crashed for us.
Yeah. It popped so quick. Like that's what I was wondering if it was that quick. I mean, this whole thing went to shit in like March 13th. Because I remember we were on our way to a GNCC race, and we weren't sure if we were afraid we were going to get locked out of the state. Like, we didn't know what was going to happen. Now you're saying April, like, the industry just popped, and it's crazy.
And then it just got crazier, and it was like just order after order, and, just a workload that we'd never expected. I mean, it pretty quickly exceeded what I had originally forecast for, the busy season, which is like, March, April, May. Mm-hmm. And, then we're setting records, and then it's like, okay, we just beat, our best month ever. And then, okay, we just beat, that. And then month after month after month, it was just record breaking. And we ended up having, like 5 of our top 6 months in the company's history were like April, May, June, July and beyond. I mean, it was crazy. And then, first, that's where it really got actually really hard for us, because we're looking at it and we're so shocked by it. Then the initial reaction was like, what is this? Mm-hmm. Because COVID is still going, and we're hearing like, on one hand, like I'll get a gigantic order emailed to me, and then you turn on the TV and like restaurant workers are in the unemployment line. And some people, their life is falling apart. And for us, it's like, I have more than I could possibly handle today.
Yeah.
And the joke around here was like, I did not see the apocalypse going this well.
Yeah.
I thought there'd be a lot more shooting. It was really interesting. And so the question became, how much do we ramp up? Because it was clear, we need to increase production.
Yeah.
The 7 people that we laid off, that took our staff. It was like 15 or 16 before that, took us down to a little less than 10. We are at 30 today. And, just going like crazy. And we've actually, fast forward to now, fired up a full-time second shift. So we are, running a production crew in our machine shop from, 6 a.m. To 2, and then another crew from 2 to 10 at night. 4 of our machines are robot fed. So the night crew basically leaves the robots going. They run all night, and the morning guys unload them. So we were, for all intents and purposes, going around the clock. And, it was a lot of, again, how can we ramp up in a sustainable way, and just kind of get it, to where it makes sense, because it's very easy, if the music stops and it all crashes again, everything we've ramped up to, we now have to have incoming business at a level that would sustain that.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you just can't, everybody, the whole backordered product situation, everybody's going, we'll just hire more people, buy more machines. It's like, whoa, slow down. It's really easy to shoot yourself in the foot doing that too fast.
Yeah, it's from our perspective, some of the things that we kind of see that we don't agree with, and ultimately it's a business decision and we understand that, but man, there are a lot of brands that market and advertise, and then business blew up for them, and they literally didn't have to do anything. It was just blowing up for them. So a lot of folks, some were our clients, and some we just know them, and they weren't our clients. They stopped completely advertising because they didn't have to do anything. And it's like, some of these brands don't understand that, like, you've got to be proactive and understand that this isn't going to last forever, in a good way and in a bad way. Like, COVID's not going to be around forever. We're not going to have these dumbass masks on our faces forever. It's also not going to be this like gravy train for cycling and moto forever. It's going to go back to a point to where you've got to fight for the attention of the customer and sell. And same thing with what you're saying, like, we can't scale up and buy 5 more machines, because when this does come back down, and it's going to, hopefully it's at a higher level than where it left, you've got to be able to sustain that. So we kind of see it a little bit differently on our side, just from the marketing side. But what you're saying is that's what you guys have to worry about from the production line side of things. That is hands down. I'm sure everybody that we've had on, we've had a lot of guests since COVID has hit. Everybody has their COVID story. That is hands down the coolest COVID story I've heard from a brand, and I had no idea that that's where this interview is going to go, man. That's awesome. That's very good.
It's been crazy. And the conversation we're having now, we're back to that same what if scenario. What if the music stops?
Yeah.
And how do we maintain the level we've ramped up to at this point? So now everything we're working on is focused around kind of growing and maintaining even from where we're at. Because my predictive abilities, I think at this point, I have zero confidence in it, because we're trying to forecast, and I'm going, I don't know what to expect, man. Last year threw a wrench into everything. Nothing about 2020 lines up with any sort of historical data that I've got or experiences I've been through. So, I'm going pretty hard into hunting new dealers. They're putting me on the road 1 week a month, flying to a different part of the country to do dealer visits, for a week. And, I go to Texas next week and travel around and see some existing shops and then go after some prospects too. And then, so we're doing everything we can to kind of try to ramp that and just to stay at the level we're at, so it's incredible. It's going good so far. January was busier than I don't know why I thought it was going to slow down after January 1st because it hasn't. It was one of the biggest months we've ever had.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, this has been one of my favorite interviews. Just the piece to where you guys literally started selling PPE masks to be able to stay open like that, and the fact that you guys had a meeting when this thing hadn't even really gotten out of China yet. I didn't even know about it in January. Like, there's so much stuff that you and your team, like, man, that's it's incredible. Hopefully there's a way for you guys to be able to tell that story beyond this podcast one of these days, because that's one of those things that's like, that's the kind of shit that gives you confidence when stuff gets hairy and you can look back and be like, hey man, we overcame that. This is a cakewalk. So where can people find more about Fastway and Sector 7 and just all that Pro Moto Billet has to offer?
Yep. So fastway.zone is our website, or sector7.zone. Either one. And promotobillet.com will take you to all of them.
Yeah.
So that's
check it out. Check it out.
I mean, give us a call if you got questions. Our team, myself, and our other customer service guys. I would prefer anybody just call. If you have questions, want to talk, that's my favorite way to deal with people over the phone versus, email or anything else, and then we try to be as reachable as possible when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Well, man, I appreciate you being as open and honest and cool to kind of tell the reality of everything that's not comfortable to talk about with having to lay staff off and being open and comfortable sharing that. I appreciate it, man. It's a really cool story. And you guys you're thriving right now, and it's awesome. And I hope to be able to communicate and connect with you guys again here soon and kind of tell more of that story. So I appreciate you coming on with us today.
Appreciate you having me, man. Anytime.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Moto Marketing Podcast. If your goal is to get real, measurable results from your marketing that will grow your company revenue, then check out how Impact Media can get the same results that they have for Moto's most iconic brands by visiting thinkimpact.com. That's THINKIMPAKT.com. Have a marketing question that you want answered on the show? Send your questions to questions@motomarketingpodcast.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast.